welcome the co-founder and CMO of Outdoorsy, Jen Young, and the CEO of Getaway, John Staff, in conversation with Skift Senior Travel Tech Editor, Sean O'Neill.
Thanks, Aisha, for that introduction. And like we're saying, we're going to hear from a couple more startups now after that previous session who are trying to professionalize and digitize the outdoor booking experience, especially an outdoor adventure. Some quick introductions first. So Jen represents Outdoorsy, which allows consumers a way to book and get key exchange for camper vans and RVs. Last year, it raised $50 million in a funding round. We also have John representing Getaway, which offers cabins within a couple hours driving distance of metro areas. The cabins offer a chance for digital detox and to reconnect with what's important. So, Jen, it's a privilege to have you joining us. We're grateful. I'd like to start with you on, you have a surge of first-time users because of the pandemic, both of Outdoorsy and of RVs in general. So what are some digital efforts that you've made to try to help welcome these first-time users?
Well, hi, how are you, Sean? Nice to see you. And John, very nice to see you. I can't believe we're talking about the great outdoors, but we're still in digital world ourselves. Soon to see you out there, I'm sure. Thanks for the question, Sean. And you're right. I mean, there's just been a significant influx of new consumer demand interested in accessing the outdoors and rethinking whether or not they want to put their travel dollars towards the standard air hotel in cities. And a lot of those new consumers for us are first-time road trip travelers or campers or renters of RVs and camper vans. So for our business, we've gone from 400% year-over-year growth in the early years to low to high season 4,500% growth, and starting out 2021 with over 145% growth. And I can share with you that a good percentage and portion of those people are people that have never rented before, first-time renters. So our team has been working really diligently on figuring out how can we accommodate these new renters? What don't they know? What's important to them? How do we build products and solutions to meet their needs? So the three main things that we have been doing to accommodate that is really pushing our delivery product. So most people don't know, but the biggest apprehension to renting on Outdoorsy or renting an RV or a camper van is, how do I drive it? How does it work? So we try to remove that obstacle right off the bat by making easy available pickup and drop off of the vehicles. So the owners in our platform or marketplace will drive the vehicle to your destination, do all the setup, get it ready for you. It's literally like a hotel outdoors. The other thing that we focused on is really promoting and pushing our owners to provide all-in-one rentals. So usually another prohibitive element is, what do I have to pack? What do I have to buy? How do I get the whole thing ready? What's the gear I need? So now all of our rentals are really pushed with these all-in-one packages. And the last thing that we did was we overhauled all of our listing pages. So now the listing pages, aside from just having great features on, is this easy to drive? Is this good for family and kids? But now they also include videos and the basics on how to. How do I drive it? How do I work Wi-Fi? How do I work the entertainment system? How do I work water and electricity? So in all, you wrap all that together, and what we're doing is we're promoting easy to drive vehicles, easy to drive camper trips, and just making it pretty seamless for anybody who's first into the market.
Fantastic. Well, we'll build on that in a moment, Jen. So John, to bring you into the conversation. So Getaway, a few months ago, you raised a $41.7 million round led by Certaris. And, when I first heard the pitch for Getaway, it was during the pandemic. And my assumption when you had cabins within a couple hours drive of metro areas is that it was focused on remote work. It was kind of like we work in the forest with Bambi instead of beer at 5 o'clock, but that is not at all the pitch. So tell us what it is.
Well, what a remarkably bad job I did pitching my business, if that's what you took away, was that it's for remote work in the woods.
Well, I hadn't heard your pitch yet. I only had heard of Getaway, so yeah.
That's comforting. So for the last 6 years that we've been in business, we've been a special place where you go and you have free time. Getaway cabins are 2 hours from major cities. You go there and we try to get you to do nothing. You lock up your cell phone. There's no Wi-Fi. We go so far as saying, don't do anything. It's not even about just stopping work and getting out of the city. It's about challenge yourself to see if you can sit alone and just think. for an hour or two or a whole day. It's about have a deep conversation with your partner. It's try to learn something new about your kid at most. So that's what we've always been about. And you're right that when the pandemic came along, very quickly it was suggested that we find a way to add Wi-Fi, for example, to these cabins and leverage the trend of more people working more flexibly. But our strong belief, and my strong belief, is that we want to know what we're doing and we want to know what we're not doing. And we want to be very clear about that in the market. And, to me, the world has changed so much in the last year, obviously in many ways for the worse, some ways for the better. I'm glad people can work more flexibly, and I still don't want them doing that at Getaway, because I think it remains as important as ever to carve out time and space to not work and to do nothing and to get away from it all and to de-stress and to recharge. So that's what we're focused on doing.
Cool. And just in case some people think that you're targeting like introverts or people who just are seeking social seclusion, like just build a little bit on that, please.
Yeah, it's really for everybody. So, my view, and I think not uniquely, is that we are spending way too much of our time connected to the internet. We're spending way too much of our time being chased around by our boss and our colleagues when we're meant to be having dinner or on vacation. We are spending way too much time in crowded, noisy cities. All these things are great. I live in New York. I love New York. I'm so happy to see it come alive again. But all good things come in balance. Same with your job, same with technology. Here we are connecting through this powerful technology, which is great, but too much of any good thing is a bad thing. So it's really for everybody to get away and try to find some free time and a little bit more balance in your life. And what we hear from folks is that is true. So, years into this, if it's just me saying it, it's CEO BS. But we get notes from people all the time. I'm kind of a Silicon Valley skeptic, but I've adopted the lesson of, launch quickly, get as much feedback as you can, take it seriously. And we get notes from people that say, honest to goodness, like, I was going to get divorced, and I didn't even want to bring my husband on this trip. But we sat by the fire with no expectations and we talked for 4 hours. And, they're writing to me saying, John, now we're sticking together. And so my joke with my marketing team is, let's run ads, we'll save your marriage. Of course, the important thing in that anecdote is it's not us doing that, right? We're hopefully queuing you up to have a deeper experience, to have a deeper conversation, to benefit from some unscheduled, unplanned, spontaneous time. But it's our guests that create those experiences, whether they're about marriages or the next phase of life or processing grief or getting in touch with a kid. That's all the guests that's doing that. And I think it's something almost all of us, if not all of us, could benefit from.
Well, yeah. What I love about what you're saying, John, if you don't mind me just commenting a little bit on that, Sean, is I feel like Outdoorsy as a solution and also Getaway as a solution are very complementary too, right? I mean, we share the same principles that we're providing products and services or places or ways for people to disconnect, but to reconnect, right? To like reconnect with themselves or nature or their families and draw strength and mental wellness and well-being from that. And I'm looking forward to trying your product. We talked at one time before, and I think you gave me an opportunity to do that. What I love about Outdoorsy, or what I love about road trip and road travel, is it's got the flexibility of being able to drive into maybe a day at Getaway, which is a complete detox and completely disconnecting, but then also pepper the experience or your whole vacation with maybe a couple of other trips. If you want to meander around and check out a small town you haven't seen, or if you want to hit up some of the hot springs, or do a quick little day hike and then drive the vehicle back. So, and I will probably end up talking, Sean, later about, what are the future versions of products and solutions out there. I'm sure there'll be some hybrids. I've got some cool news or areas to talk about there, but I love that combination, that 1-2 punch that Outdoorsy and Getaway sort of provides. You can,
I think that's echoed. We have this poll result. We asked our audience, and it seems like half the people are seeking sort of connection when they're in the outdoors, and then about half are also seeking sort of disconnection. So I think that it goes right to the points that Jen, you and John were making. Jen, I'm wondering a little bit about sort of your business. There's another public company called Cruise America that offers rentals to RVs. They said that about 40%, before the pandemic, about 40% of their business came from inbound international travelers. Does your company at Outdoorsy, do you plan to sort of target some of the international inbound market?
I mean, that's a great question. And, clearly that's changed over the last, let's call it 12 months because of COVID. But I would say, one of the unique things about Outdoorsy is we are a global business. So we actually operate. We have vehicles, camper vans, RVs, which are fully insured and vetted, and a lot of them managed by our professional owners in a lot of European markets and Australia and definitely all across Canada. So most of our international customers and bookings come in market. So whether that's the UK, England, Ireland, Scotland, Wales, or if it's Australia or Canada, most of the travel is happening within that country. I think it's probably about 10% that actually is international. So Europeans coming to the United States or Canada to do some of those like monster trips, like the West Coast.
Mm-hmm.
We definitely haven't seen a ton of that, for good reason with COVID. But do I expect that that's going to bounce back 100%? I mean, there's no other magical place in the world than the United States and Canada in terms of forests and oceans and lakes and like Mother Nature. And I think she's reigning supreme these days.
That's for sure. So, John, I'm wondering a bit about your business model in terms of supply. And one thing, Airbnb sort of like excelled at sort of bringing more demand, more supply onto the market by encouraging people who may not have rented their apartments before to do that. Does Getaway help sort of expand the inventory?
Well, it's the right question. I mean, we were 90% booked prior to COVID-19. COVID-19, as insensitive as this feels in a way, brought us to 99.5%. And we've stayed there with healthy rates. So we are a supply constrained business by any definition. We're working hard to bring more supply online. We've launched 6 already this year. We're going to add more later this year. So that is kind of job 1, 2, and 3 for me and the Getaway team. But we're doing it in the context of a very different business than Airbnb and Outdoorsy. We are not a platform business. We are owners, operators, managers, branders. We're everything to these locations, and that has its pros and cons, obviously. But one of the pros is that we are able to provide a super consistent experience, down to the color of the pen. Writing the note card that you walk into and making sure we know not just your name, but your spouse's name and your dog's name, and that everybody gets a treat to welcome you to Getaway. So, we are loath to ever call ourselves a hotel because we think of Getaway as an experience that you're investing in that is different than a place to crash and just get a night's sleep. But we are very much in the hospitality tradition of, not having a front desk, not having a bar and restaurant, not having our staff face-to-face with our guests. We want to provide that hospitality touch. So the challenge for us is how do we scale supply while maintaining that form of magic?
Okay. John, how do you see the sector sort of shaking out? Like there's been a wave of players that have come in, a wave of investor money. In Australia, there's sort of a counterpart, Unyoked, which offers cabins, within a couple hours stay of metro areas. But there's been so many players that we've heard from. Do you see that there's going to be it seems like there could be 3 options, like Expedia comes in and aggregates everything, some new super brand under the outdoor adventure label sort of umbrellas everything, or there will continue to be segments, 5-7 years from now of this is the RV market leader for online booking, this is for cabins, this is for glamping. How do you see it shaking out?
Well, who knows, and we'll see. But
or John, you could have just said Outdoorsy and Getaway will be the solution in 5 years. We're rapidly scaling, and Jen just talked about international. That's also
that's true. What Jen said, but I want to say I'm not making predictions. Besides that, travel's huge. I'm really excited. I think we're in a throwback business. I live in New York. The Catskills are nearby. You drive around the Catskills, and you can see all the fun that was being had and all the enjoyment of nature that was being had a few decades back. And so in many ways, I think we're just harkening back to that. So if part of your question is, are there too many? I think there's lots of room, and we'll see how they come together. I don't think it's option 1 to go back on my making a prediction. I don't think an aggregator in the form of an Expedia can do justice to what I think we're doing and others are doing, which is really creating an end-to-end experience that provides everything you need and nothing you don't. I just don't think that can be done through a platform that, try or not, treats everybody as more or less the same.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, and if you don't mind me making
please, Jen.
I mean, what John said, like the way that we work and where we work will change forever now. It kind of already has, like a year of new consumer behavior habits is long enough to sort of open up new possibilities. And so I think you're seeing certainly Americans move from, a few cities to everywhere in their mind's eye about where they could live or where they could travel or where they could vacation. And the other big trend I see is mass travel is definitely moving to more meaningful travel for a whole bunch of reasons in all demographics. It's no longer just like the young millennial kids or young people that prioritize mental health and wellness. I think everybody has realized that this is something that they can commit to, and they can figure out how they work and live to do that. And what that means is we're all now looking at what are the new products and brands and services to bring this to life. So this will for sure be something that many great companies will be tackling, over the next, 10 or 20 years. And I think the one thing that is for certain is the focus on the stay will become more important, right? How to get there is critically important, but opening up the outdoors to these fantastic stay experiences like we've all had in hotels for many years, like the 5-star hotel now becomes the 5 billion star hotel.
Well, let's build on that in the outdoorsy context. So we have a question from the audience about how is professionalization of outdoorsy sort of developing? What is the professional to independent host mix? Just to build on your point, Jen.
Oh, cool. Actually, you know what? I'm glad you brought that up. I was going to transition and talk a little bit about our plans as it relates to making investments in accommodations. But you're right. I mean, the more important segue is what is the operating system to do this? And trust is definitely the new currency. So trust has to be the foundation of being able to transact and to make sure that you're transacting professionally and within business outside of cities as consistently and as trustworthy as we come to experience within cities. So Outdoorsy is working on building the operating infrastructure for outdoor commerce. We're building a platform in the cloud. We're working on payments, multi-currency payments, fees, chargeback systems, credits, insurance costs, claims handling, and making sure that all of that trust embedded in how businesses operate and how they do that digitally online through their websites and other digital mobile apps and communications is definitely the most important thing that we're focused on. It's our commitment to trying to put safety of our customers ahead of everything that we build, whether it's the insurance products and or the customer transaction, from searching, picking up, time on trip, and post return. That
makes a lot of sense. And yeah, I mean, it's a tremendous platform of what you're trying to do is change. I guess we only have like a minute and a half left, and I'm sort of one thing that was brought up earlier. Carl Shepard, who created HomeAway and then now Vrbo, he had skepticism about how much strength the RV trend will have long term. It was like sort of like a pandemic bump. He made the joke that how long will families want to spend a 2-week trip with their 3 kids in an RV? What are the factors that you believe are terms that are going to be driving a structural change and increased demand?
I mean, I disagree that there will be a turn in families wanting to spend a shorter amount of time with their kids. I hope I'm getting the quote right there. I think actually COVID sort of did the opposite for most families. I think we realized that we actually like spending time together and figuring out ways, as I mentioned before, like meaningful travel and having access to spending time with your friends, your families, or people that are doing the interests you really want to be doing will be a long-term trend for the world, for globally, and certainly in the U.S.
I think that makes very good sense. And I like spending time with you guys too. I think it's a good pandemic point. Unfortunately, we are at the end of time for the session, but Jen and John, thank you so much, and best wishes for Outdoorsy and Getaway.
Thank you, Sean.
Thank you. Bye.